Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lorelei, or Maddie, and today I will be reading chapter 25 of #Murder Trending by Gretchen McNeil. Let's get right into it. Dee stared at the clock as it counted down. 19 minutes and 55 seconds, 54 seconds, 53. Their fate is in my hands. Wow, Mira said, letting out a breath. The postman must really hate you. You have no idea. I feel bad for Niles. He was really nice to me on my first day. I have to save them, Dee blurted out. Mira laughed. Save them? Why? Because they're my friends? Dee stopped herself before she said the words. No one had friends on Alcatraz 2.0, and yet her instinct showed where her heart was. Niles and even Griselda were her friends. They risked their own safety to help her. She wasn't going to let them die, because they're my... Dee's answer was cut off by a quick series of raps on her front door before it flew open, ripping the spearmint dental floss and spork contraption away from the wall. Ethan bounded into the living room. Mira screamed and fled for the backyard. Mira, Dee cried. It's okay, he's a friend. Dude, Ethan said, oblivious to Mira's presence. What are you going to do? Then he paused and turned around. And why was your door unlocked? He sniffed the air. Why does your living room smell minty fresh? I want to save them, Dee said, feeling utterly helpless. But with all those warehouses on the island, it'd be a miracle if we found Griselda and Niles on time. The old Navy brig, Mira said tentatively, peeking out from behind the dining room wall, as if ready to bolt out the back again at the smallest sign of danger. Dee caught her breath. What? Mira's voice sounded small, but she spoke with total conviction. When the Hardy girls dressed up as Mary Cat and Constance Blackwood and killed Nikolai Ianskov by force-feeding him sugar-covered blackberries until his stomach exploded. I compared screen grabs of their kill room to photos of the old Navy prison on the island. Part of it was turned into a wine tasting room 20 years ago, but there is a 95% chance that it's the same place. Dude, Ethan said slowly. She's so badass. Wait. He cocked his head to the side. Who the hell are you? This is Mira. She lives next door. Ethan nodded. You used to work at the bodega. I remember the red hair. Any idea why there's no food in there right now? That was so not important at the moment. Ethan, do you know where the Navy brig is? Not really, but we could probably find it. She appreciated his use of the pronoun we, but without knowing exactly where the prison was, they had no chance of reaching Niles and Griselda in time. They needed a guide. Mira, Dee began gently. Can you take us there? Mira recoiled. Her shoulders pinched towards her ears and rolled forward as if she was trying to wrap herself into a cocoon. Go to a kill room. voluntarily. 18 minutes and 49 seconds. We don't have the time to find it ourselves. Please, Mira. You won't even have to go in. Just point it out and go home. Mira's eyes shifted from Dee's face to the TV screen. Niles had managed to wriggle his wrists free from the ropes and was working to untie Griselda. The water had risen past their ankles. Would they even have the full 20 minutes? Dee wouldn't have put it past the postman to lie to them. Mira, please. She swallowed. Okay. Sweet, Ethan cried. Then he turned and sprinted outside. I'll meet you at the corner. Where are you going? I need to suit up, he shouted over his shoulder. Suit up? Dee looked down at her own outfit, a yellow fit and flare dress with ruffled sleeves and placent leather flats. Patent leather flats? I don't know what that word is. Running across the island in that get-up would make quite a spectacle for the postman's cameras, but she didn't have the time to change. She grabbed her king ring from the kitchen counter, and followed Ethan out the door. Mira didn't say a word, just chewed on her bottom lip as Dee locked up. It'll be okay, Dee said, catching one last look at the countdown screen through the living room window. 18 minutes, 4 seconds. I know. Both of them were full of crap, but who was going to call it out? It was easier to believe the lie. They were almost at the corner when Ethan barreled out of his house. He wore camouflage cargo pants with his cross-dress trainers, a matching bandana around his shaved head, and that was it. He was shirtless. He was simply his sharply cut muscles and menagerie of tattoos flexing with every stride, and as he joined them, Dee realized that he had smeared some black stuff in diagonal lines across his face. You've got to be kidding me, she said. What? Ethan flexed, bouncing his pectorals as he alternated sides. I'm Arnold Schwarzenegger. I butchered that so hard. I'm not even gonna try. In commando. He cleared his throat and attempted an Australian accent. Let off some steam, Bennett. I'm not gonna say that in an Austrian accent, because my Austrian accents are not very good. Perfect. Ethan thought that he was in an 80s action movie. Dee was dressed like a princess cosplayer, and they were about to go up against two grown women serial killers posing as little girls. Worst day ever? Ethan set his stopwatch. 16 minutes. Let's get this show on the road. Dee sighed. They had no plan, only half an idea where they were going, and everyone's life was on the line. Lead the way, Mira. Down 9th Street, she said, pointing. Ethan ran ahead, sprinting down 9th so fast, Dee and Mira could barely keep up. She's your baggage, he called out, still in his Arnold voice. You fall behind and you're on your own. Isn't that from Predator? Mira asked. Just go with it, Dee said, impressed that Mira could identify one of Ethan's quotes. Dee tried to keep a mental clock in her head while they ran, but it was difficult to judge the seconds from the pace of their steps and the pounding in her ears as her heart accelerated into the red zone. They raced by the sports field and bizarro Main Street and a briny wind lashing at them from the north. Ethan had already jogged ahead when Mira stopped in front of what appeared to be an abandoned school. "Hey," Dee called to Ethan. "It's this way, Magallan? Magallian?" "Sweet," he sprinted back. "What movie is that from?" Dee was starting to understand Griselda's exasperation. "History?" He shook his head. "Haven't seen it." I love Ethan. He's so funny. He's a little dumb, but he's funny. They followed Mira down an unfamiliar street. Near the end, she slowed, then stopped near a shiny light stone building set back from the street behind a large overgrown parking lot. A large fence ringed the property, making it more reminiscent. That doesn't sound right, but we're gonna go with it because I'm assuming you know what I mean. Of its original pinnacle purpose than a remodeled wine tasting room. There was wire mesh instead of chain link, and about 10 feet up it curved inward toward the building at a 45-degree angle, ensuring that it was impossible for anyone inside its confines to climb out. Instead of the usual crow-shaped cameras, the fence was dotted with old-fashioned security cameras, which looked like large metal boxes perched on rotating arms. They slowly panned the interior of the old prison courtyard, back and forth, each at its own pace, probably the same way they operated 50 years ago, when the Navy still used the Brig. Well, at least the postman was into recycling. Beyond the fence, a large 3-story building faced with beige slate loomed in the morning sunshine. It looked less foreboding than its barrier, but with lots of large windows of blue-tinted glass. But as Dee approached, she realized that metal doors had been installed on the inside of the windows, sealing the building off from whatever sunlight they might have provided. 12 minutes, 3 seconds, Ethan said. He didn't even sound out of breath. "I'll check the perimeter. We should stick together," Dee said, panting. Too late. He dashed around the corner of the fence into what looked like an old driveway and disappeared. "Damn it, Ethan!" "I think there's a door at the end of the driveway," Mira said. She stood in the middle of the street, refusing to approach the property. "Okay," Dee smiled. "Thank you. Be careful." Dee nodded, then spun around to follow Ethan. She could see his camouflage weaving down the driveway, pausing to crouch behind low bushes like the leader of some kind of Navy SEAL team raiding an enemy stronghold. Dee wasn't entirely sure why he bothered, since he was clearly in view of half a dozen cameras at once, but whatever. Ethan was playing out his own action movie in his head, and the cameras just added to the fantasy. When he reached the front door, Ethan pressed his body against it, looking left and right as if scanning for the surveillance he already knew existed, then somersaulted away and crouched in a crevice near a window. At least he was having fun. Ethan was power squatting in front of the window when Dee arrived, hands cupped around his eyes as he tried to peer inside through a thin, vertical pane. "See anything?" Dee asked. He let out a high-pitched scream and walked away. "Shit, dude," he said, panting. "You scared me." "Seriously?" "Do you see anything?" she repeated. "Looks empty." Dee glanced at his watch. 11 minutes. Let's hope not. And she and Dee were probably about to walk into their deaths. But the option was to turn around, go home, and watch Niles and Griselda drown on an eternal loop from every TV screen on the island. So there wasn't really an option at all. Dee took a deep breath and approached the door. "I might be able to break it down," Ethan said. He stood up and bent his right knee, catching his foot in his hand so that way he could stretch out his quad. One good ninja kick might do it. Dee had no idea what a ninja kick might be, but she decided to try the door before Ethan started breaking things. She was utterly surprised when it swung open. "Or we could just open it," Ethan said, bounding up behind her. "Good job." Stepping into the lobby of the old Navy brig was like stepping back in time. A low counter set to their right, a thick blanket of dust covering its surface, with a "No firearms beyond this point" sign affixed to the wall. A row of small lockers faced them, all of which were open, empty, and rusting, and a hallway snaked off to the right. Everything looked decrepit and abandoned, except for the shiny new domed security cameras, identical to the ones that filled Dee's house and ice cream, that had been installed on the ceiling, their red lights ablaze. Someone was watching, which meant they were in the right place. Dee tapped Ethan on the shoulder, then silently pointed to the nearest lens. "It's a trap." "Oh, totally," he said, sounding excited. "That's why I came." "Booyah!" Great. She had Rambo as a partner. This couldn't possibly go wrong. Ethan spun around, scanning the lobby, then paused at a spot by the counter where a fire extinguisher was bolted to the wall. "Aha!" He planted one hand on the counter and vaulted over it, kicking up a frenzy of clumpy dust particles, then ripped the extinguisher off its mount. He tucked the canister under one arm and held the hose in his hand like a gun. "You've got to ask yourself one question." "Huh?" "Do I feel lucky?" Ethan continued. "Well, do you, punk?" "Is that another movie thing?" she asked wearily, half wishing that she had Mira there to interpret. Ethan frowned. "It's freaking Dirty Harry. Were you raised under a rock?" "You have no idea." "Anything back there I can use?" He peered under the counter, lips pressed together. Suddenly his face lit up. "Here you go." He tossed a rusty stapler to her. "This will be perfect if I want to do minor skin damage." "Better than nothing," Ethan said. Let's do this. Ethan leaped back over the counter just as easily with the large extinguisher as when he was without it, and Dee, stapler in hand, followed him around the corner. Okay. Inmate D. Guerrera, hashtag Cinderella survivor, days alive 2. Inmate Ethan Robinson, hashtag Ethan the Buff, days alive 27. Period. 29th, the 9th of November, 12 a.m. to the 9th of November, 11:59 p.m. Conditions: interior well lit. Time till death rounded 5 minutes. Odds 10-1. $2 payout $22. 10 minutes 9-2. $11 under the $2 payout. 15 minutes 9-5. $5.60 under the $2 payout. 20 minutes, odds 1-1, $4. 25 minutes, 3-5, $3.20. 30 minutes, 11-1, $24. No show, 16-1, $34. I get it. I get what the payout is. People are betting. I probably should have realized that sooner, but people are betting. A lot of people must have just lost some money because she did in fact show up. So we'll see. We'll see if she dies at all. There's not an option that says she doesn't die, so But considering there's still a lot of the book left, I am hopeful that she does not in fact die here. So whether or not Niles, Ethan, and Griselda die is a different question. But regardless, that is the end of chapter 25. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.